Welcome again, everybody, to a live look at KU and K-State sports with CJ Online. I'm Kevin Haskin, and with me is Ken Corbitt, our K-State beat writer, Matt Galloway, our KU beat writer, and guys, tough to win a home game in the Big 12, huh?
Yeah, is it now 1-9 or 1-8? Something for home teams, yeah.
Yeah, Oklahoma did win last night,
okay.
So beat Oklahoma State, but that was just the second win. And start with you, Matt. Texas Tech we knew was good, came in ranked 18th, but completely controlled that game against KU in Allen Fieldhouse, led the whole way, got up to a 23-7 lead, and any charge KU made, Texas Tech withstood. KU couldn't even get back to make it a one-possession game.
Yeah, I believe it was the first time in the Bill Self era, now 14-plus years, that a KU team didn't even lead at home at any point in the game. So we knew it was going to be a matchup of Texas Tech's nationally ranked three-point defense and KU, which was just coming off a 17-3 performance at Texas, which really helped neutralize the inside presence of Mo Bamba. But really, Texas Tech only improved on their three-point numbers. It was a dominant performance. KU got no closer than 6 in the second half, and there were a couple of moments where you thought the momentum might start to turn the Jayhawks' way, but every time Texas Tech just had an answer, and that's something the players talked about in the postgame. I thought your column was right on point. I think Texas Tech served notice not only that they had arrived under Chris Beard, but that the Big 12 is up for grabs this year, and if Texas Tech can beat KU at home, why can't teams that are higher ranked like TCU, Oklahoma, why can't they do the same? So it's a fair question to wonder.
Virginia.
I mean, that's the second loss at home that KU's had in 2 games against Power 5 opponents this year. 3 if you count the game at Sprint Center, which I know a lot of people like to just throw that away, but that was a good crowd against Washington. And they were into it, and it was almost a sellout. And so I'm not throwing that away at all. I mean, it wasn't Allen Fieldhouse, but it was close.
It counts as a home game in the eyes of the NCAA selection committee.
Yeah, so I mean, I think as it's just looking like the Jayhawks are going to have to really get it together here to have hopes of getting the Wichita-Omaha two-step. But even we saw last year the Tulsa-Kansas City thing didn't exactly work. So maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if the Jayhawks were to end up on the road. But I mean, I think people are starting to look at this team's deficiencies, rebounding, as I wrote about today for Hawkson.com, and getting to the free throw line, which Bill Self, they did do better against Texas Tech. They were 17 for 23, but Bill Self said that was just running junk offense at the end and praying that you could get to the line, driving and praying. So I think there are a lot of issues with this team that are concerning a lot of KU fans right now.
Yeah, and Kenny, we saw Kansas State win at Iowa State. Thought that was a pretty good win. It was a convincing win, 16-point win on the road. I'm not sure the Cyclones are very good and certainly didn't play a very high level of defense in that game, but still to go into Ames and win. Great win to start conference play and then come home against West Virginia. Good team that's going to impose its will on you and did in that game in Bramlage, and kind of the same thing. K-State got back within, 4 and just couldn't get any further and couldn't get any stops inside that final TV timeout.
Yeah, that's the conundrum of this team. They've had trouble finishing games even against lesser opponents early in the year. I thought it was a positive sign at Iowa State that they turned a 3-point halftime lead into a 16-point victory when going away. Come back against West Virginia with a lot of momentum, good crowd in Bramlage, not a sellout, but a good crowd. They're playing catch-up the whole game, and they finally get it within 4 with 4 minutes to go, and you think, well, here you go. But they could not get a defensive stop. Couldn't get another basket either, but kept fouling West Virginia, put them at the line, 8 of 8 free throws the final 4 minutes. So, they finished one game, and then the second game at home, they just can't find that way to make a key stop, make a key basket, and get over the hump and get another win, which would have really set them up in pretty good shape right now at 2-0 with the road win.
Yeah. And now they go on the road. They play Texas Tech, and I guess the one hope is that they find the Red Raiders a little flat after that win at Allen Fieldhouse.
Yeah, that's their own hope. I mean, they're expecting a sellout there now, so people have getting the fever down there again. But again, what we saw with Texas Tech, very good rebounding team. What's K-State's? Well, one of their big flaws right now is rebounding. So that's a matchup that doesn't set up well for them right now.
Yeah, the Wildcats have just gotten pretty much zero consistency out of newcomers. It seems like, and they try to plug a guy in on occasion, and maybe he gives them something like Patrick the other night, who's not a newcomer. He's a returnee, but he comes in and he's an offensive threat for him, and yet defensively he commits 3 straight fouls that puts Tech at the line. They knock down, or put West Virginia at the line and knock down all those free throws, and that was not a good sequence there.
No, I mean, and you're still looking for someone to do something in the post. I mean, at Iowa State, McCole Mayween plays 5 minutes, fouls out.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have a foul against West Virginia, but he didn't do anything else either. So Levi Stocker came in, gave him some good minutes. Again, he was in foul trouble. Didn't even try a Mato Sala that game. So, that's still the missing link for this team right now is something inside.
And just to back up your point about rebounding and the matchup for K-State, Texas Tech's 4 primary guards had 6, 6, 6, and 5 rebounds apiece against KU, and Devontae Graham had 0 in 40 minutes. Yeah. So the athletic guards, I mean, Devontae Graham's the one player that self-said after the game tried his butt off. He couldn't say that about anybody else. Yeah. And he still managed to get, he finished 13 for 13 at the free throw line. And rebounding isn't something that you would necessarily, if you're counting on Devontae Graham, your point guard, to rebound, you're in trouble. But it's just a point that those 4 guards, just all of them had at least 5 rebounds. So, and that was a game where Zach Smith was, hampered by an injury and gotten himself in foul trouble and played only 6 minutes. So, I think a lot of KU fans looked at Zach Smith playing 6 minutes, getting 1 rebound, and ended up seeing KU out rebounded 44-29, and thought, how the heck could that happen?
Yeah, well, that's one thing that maybe might help K-State a little bit at Texas Tech, as Texas going those 4 guard lineup. K-State used a small ball lineup at Iowa State and looked pretty good in that. So that's, may help them in this matchup.
Good. I wouldn't say there's a level of desperation at KU yet, although maybe there is among some fans, but definitely a level of concern. And part of that stems from, when do they get these big guys? Do they get Billy Preston? But also, what kind of production will they give the Jayhawks? I mean, that's a complete mystery. We don't know. What happens when they come in. It gives them some more depth, but based on this outcome in their first home game in Big 12 play and their first loss at home in a home opener in the conference play since 2006 against a K-State team, and that was kind of a weird game, I remember too. But what is the level of concern?
I think it's pretty high. I mean, KU fans have seen struggles in the past. I think there was a 3-game losing streak in Big 12 play a few years ago. Yeah. And they still ended up.
I think there's been 2 in the Self era.
Yeah. And they still ended up continuing the streak. I think people are just looking at this team and they're starting to feel the way that Bill Self feels about it, or has always felt about it, which is they need to get bigger. And Mitch Lightfoot seems to be miscast as a 5 at times. I mean, he played 8 minutes. He had 1 rebound against Texas Tech, and he can't. I mean, Udoka Azubuike is just putting too much on his back, which at the moment is injured. But as far as Silvio De Sousa, as we learned it's pronounced during his interview with Brian Haney last week, and Billy Preston, I feel like it's that situation where you're driving on a long road trip and you keep asking your dad, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" And your dad keeps telling you in a little bit. I mean, yesterday on Hawk Talk, Bill Self said that a decision on Billy Preston could happen at any minute, which, it's every day it seems like he comes out with something. I feel like it's Groundhog Day. I'm writing the same story over and over again. So he did say something of note. He said it's not the NCAA's fault, that KU just didn't get the information to them until around Christmas break. And, of course, NCAA goes on holiday break and didn't get back until the 2nd. So KU just wanted to be completely thorough and make sure that there was no chance that the NCAA could come back and say, well, we need X, Y, and Z. So that's still pending. I think people are more optimistic about De Sousa, who has joined the team. But, man, I just look at the development of – and people have said it's different situations, but you look at Sheck Diallo, who was with the team, wasn't cleared until November, and he never got on track with KU, and he didn't even play in their season-ending defeat in the NCAA tournament. Mm-hmm. So it's a situation where I think Silvio De Sousa is going to have to show, that he can contribute before I'll really believe it, just because Bill Self has such a intricate system to learn and a low patience level for people that mess it up.
Yeah, exactly. And he's had to adjust his patience with this.
Yeah.
And he's commented about that, and what you can usually do is take a guy out, bring a guy in. There's no better remedy than sitting on the bench. And with this year, you just say, well, stay in there and do better.
I don't know what you thought, though. I thought Sam Cunliffe actually contributed a little bit in his 9 minutes. I thought
he did.
I think maybe looking at a kind of a more expanded role. I think, as we saw against Texas, Bill Self and Nebraska, really, Bill Self might be a little hesitant to use him in close situations right now. But with as little as you're getting from Malik Newman, who I thought had a better game, and Marcus Garrett, whose shot is just non-existent right now, I think it would be worthy of KU's time to explore what they have in Sam Cunliffe.
Kenny, if Bill Snyder's taught me anything over the years, it's not to be surprised by anything. And certainly I wasn't surprised when it came out that he's back as the football coach at Kansas State. It was what we were all expecting. But how do you see things developing there moving forward from this announcement as they move on and get ready for spring ball with off-season conditioning?
Yeah, I think we were expecting it. There were a couple of clues earlier. He was out on the road recruiting a little more. Saw some pictures of him with the recruits on social media, which, in the past he stayed at the office, had been the closer. He talked before the Cactus Bowl about some things he had in mind with the coaching staff, so that gave you an indication. He's got 2 spots to fill on that staff, with Dana Dimmel leaving and adding another assistant next year. So I kind of think I have an idea what I think might happen, but who knows what direction Bill is going to go. But there's still the conspiracists out there that think Bill is going to wait until August or a couple weeks before the season and then announce retirement so Sean can take over.
But he's not the one who can make that move.
No, he's not.
So,
and I don't think that's going to happen either. I mean, the man is going to coach. He is a football coach, and that's what he does. So, the first thing right now is to get his staff in order. He needs to name an offensive coordinator, likely to stay in-house, promote Andre Coleman, who right now is a receivers coach and passing game coordinator, move Colin Klein, give Colin Klein that title of passing game coordinator, or maybe even make the 2 of them co-offensive coordinators like you had with Dana Dimmel and Dale Miller. So, and then add another assistant. So, add 2 spots to fill Dana's spot. So, I think that's probably his priority right now is getting the staff situation ironed out. But I think we all pretty much expected him to come back for another year. The way his health seemed to improve throughout the season. I mean, he seemed to get a little stronger in appearance. So
his team did too, as he got maybe a little stronger.
Yeah, he got a little better each day, I believe. So.
What were the 3 things he said that he would stay at K-State until that he was wanted? That
he's wanted,
his health,
and that he's having an impact on the young people's lives.
To me, that would scream that he's going to do this until he leaves this earth.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. And I think he could. I mean, I really think, he figure this out. He retired once and didn't like it.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, he was out for 3 years, didn't like it at all, knows that football is his thing, and, I think that's how he wants to live the rest of his life, is being involved in football, as long as he's healthy enough to do so. And, so it never surprises me when he's back. And a ton of people will predict this is going to be his last season, this next year.
Well, eventually they're going to be right.
Yeah, right.
Just saying it every year, eventually you're going to be right.
Keep with that prediction, and eventually you're going to be right.
Just like saying this is the year KU isn't going to win the Big 12 basketball title. Eventually, I don't know which one's going to happen first. KU loses or Bill Snyder retires. So this might be a tight race.
People are going to be looking back at this Facebook Live at the end of the season when KU wins by 3 games and laughing at all the people running around like chickens with their heads cut off.
Exactly. So, what do we anticipate with KU's next road game, and what concerns are there as they move forward?
I mean, it's at TCU. It's a place where they've always struggled when TCU was down. So, I mean, I guess you wonder if TCU's now actually up, if that's going to change things at all. But I mean, this is going to be a tough test for KU. I think TCU is I think I picked TCU to finish second in the Big 12 to KU at the beginning of the season, and they sure had a tough loss to Oklahoma State to open their season. I mean, they were up big, and Trae Young, I think we're just finding out that this is just Trae Young's world, and we're just living in it in the Big 12. But, I think it's going to be a tough matchup for KU, and I'm not anticipating that they're going to get, I guess, good news that they would be hoping for with DeSosa or Preston before them, but I guess that could change if they're truly minutes away or whatever. Maybe they'll be seconds away by next week, but I think it's going to be a tough game for KU, but I think they'll be focused and ready to bounce back. One thing about this team is it's shown at Nebraska and at Texas, which I thought Texas had a much better crowd than I was expecting to, considering it was holiday break and KU had just mopped the floor with Texas the last couple matchups they've had down there. I thought that was a good crowd. I think KU's shown that they're not. I guess it's hostile road environments don't seem to affect this KU team as much, and it's a small sample size, but
they shouldn't. I mean, when you got your best player as a senior point guard, I think that really factors heavily into that sort of thing.
And it's like what we saw last year with them talking about how much they love playing at Bramlage. I think sometimes they even feed off of it. Some of it might be lip service, and some of the younger players might struggle in those situations. But I think KU would be ready for the road test. I just think it's a matter of figuring out those two big problem areas, rebounding and getting to the free throw line whenever your three-point shot isn't falling, because I believe it was after a TCU game, or maybe it was after a Texas Tech game a few years ago, where Bill Self had his infamous fool's gold line about three-pointers after they hit a huge number of threes, and we've seen him kind of turn around on that and running four guards out there out of necessity, really. But this year it's a situation where if KU has a game where they go 6 for 26 from three-point range in the NCAA tournament with as little as they do from the free throw line, it's going to be tough to see them winning a tournament.
And Graham gets to the free throw line in this game.
Yeah.
13
free throws. But Tech also, I mean, this is important to say, Tech came in not a great free throw shooting team, 21 for 25, including great numbers in the second half.
Yeah. Chris Beard threw something out there that I think is worth examination. It's probably the easiest question I'll ever pose with this panel, but I think it's worthy of analysis. Do we need Whataburger in Kansas?
I was hoping you would say that. I walked in a little bit late into his news conference, and all I hear him say is somebody asked him, do you feel like you have an advantage with your bench compared to KU? And the bench outscored KU 42-16 in this game, so of course. But he says, I don't think we have an advantage on anything over Kansas except for the fact that we have Whataburger in Lubbock, Texas, and y'all don't. So I thought that was pretty cool. But I would almost rather have like an In-N-Out Whataburger double store where they just, or maybe across the street competitors. Maybe we could put it in Topeka so that it could satisfy the Manhattan and Lawrence markets.
Well, I'm sure if you got one, you get the other. So they'd be right across the street from each other.
Probably
on
so.
Lawmakers,
It'd be like the dueling billboards downtown where you come along I-70.
It's just always been cruel to me to watch Big 12 games on TV and see them advertise Whataburger and be like, that's just sadistic to the people north of Oklahoma.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, because that's an automatic stop for any of us when we make those trips into Oklahoma and Texas.
I may find one tomorrow night.
Imagine how the West Virginia fans feel seeing that.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
What Whataburger?
What is that? I mean, do they have a Waffle House over there? But, well, anyway, I think that does it, and both these guys will be on the road this week, and I'm headed for some playoff football in Kansas City, and we know what that spells since 1994 when they had their last win, but we'll see if they can get one against in this first wild card game. I don't know. You follow the Chiefs a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I think Tennessee's a good run stopping team, but I think Chiefs fans would have rather played the Titans than the Ravens, and the Ravens just bungled their way out of the playoffs.
Yeah,
so
Tennessee doesn't give you many offensive dimensions. They try to pound it at you.
They've been kind of,
and we'll see if the Chiefs can stop it. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for this week. We're glad you listened and watched, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter and all those good things, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.